How are you guys doing? Welcome to today's video. This is the Successful Minority YouTube channel. My name's Jonah Fury, and welcome. If you're new here, this is the channel where I document my journey to the successful minority, as well as give you guys tips and tricks to help you get there also. Today's video is a little weird, and I'm not in my usual place, which would be the library. I'm sitting in my car, which some of you might know that I live out of. About to head into my job. And just been really busy this past week, and I've been really trying to put out content every single week. So this is basically me trying to put out content on the 7th day of like the cycle of not putting anything out. But I want to stay true to that, so this is me recording on the 7th day. I'm still putting out content every single week, even though I'm full-time in college, over full-time in college, and working 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And I've been so tired this weekend because we had a break, and I thought it would be smart to pick up people's shifts because, I mean, we have no school, there's no point in not, and I had just taken tests the week before. But I thought it'd be fitting to record a video about why I'm hustling so much and why I'm working so much, and basically tell you guys my background story from birth. So let's get into it. My name's Jonah Fury. I was born in Jacksonville, Florida, and by my dad, Matthew, and my mom, Mary. And I'm not sure in that period of time when my dad went to the military, but whenever he was in the military, he had no idea that my mom, Mary, was beating me and my brother ever since my sister was born, because she'd been wanting a girl, and basically whenever she had the girl, she kind of went crazy. And she has a bunch of mental disorders, so I don't blame her for anything, but she was actually beating us, like bad, kicking. She's even stabbed me in the neck one time, as my brother explains how he dragged me up the stairs and he had to deal with the blood and all that stuff. But yeah, that was the crazy part at the very beginning. And there was a male that was living with us, which I don't know if it was my mom's boyfriend or what. I was really young, but my mom had some signs of schizophrenia, and so did my brother's dad. See, my brother is my half-brother, and we're both just half siblings. So one day, my mom decided to call his dad up and say that the guy that was living with us was molesting us, and it wasn't true, but my brother's dad has more serious schizophrenia. And of course he believed it, because one of the traits of his schizophrenia was like believing stuff like to a full extent, and he came down and murdered the guy that was living with us at the time. And this is while my dad was still in the military, and I had no stepfamily at this time, still no stepfamily or anything like that. And this is when social services gets involved in my life. And me, my brother, and my sister get pulled out of the family after this murder. My brother's dad goes to jail for I think a life. I'm not even sure. I don't keep up. That's his side of the family. I haven't kept up with that, but I feel really bad for my brother. He has to deal with that aspect. But we got pushed into the foster home. This is whenever I was living in a foster home for a while. Multiple different foster families. I remember most of them pretty vividly. I remember sleeping next to this girl that had to have this breathing stuff on, because she couldn't sleep without it. It was a really loud machine. Sorry about that, my lights turned off. But anyways, I remember that she was one of my friends. I remember having this pet little dolphin. I don't know why, but I had a stuffed pet dolphin in the foster homes. I used to steal these little candies at one of the other families, which was those hazelnut little balls. I don't know what they're called. I used to get in trouble for stealing those, but that was funny. But eventually, my brother was the one that was taking care of me inside of the home when my dad was there, right? He was my best, like, the one that my caregiver, basically. He was great. He was amazing. I loved him. I looked up to him. And then one day, he gets taken away. And that was the first thing that really heartbroke me, because he was the only one that cared about me. I mean, my mom beat me. I didn't know the guy that was there. My sister was young. And basically, I was getting beat because of her existence. Which, it's not your fault, Penny, if you're watching this. It's just Mary was messed up. And, but my brother got taken away because he got custody. His grandparents got custody of him, which happened sooner than us, me and Penny. So me and Penny are still in the foster home. I remember crying the day that he was leaving, and it was just the first bad thing. But the whole foster home thing taught me one great lesson, and that not all family is blood, and that was huge. It's a huge thing to know in life. But after that happened, a couple months later, my dad, I believe, got kicked out of the military somehow, but I believe it was Mary's fault, he tells me, and he got stationed in Louisiana, and this is how I ended up in Louisiana, because I believe we were living in foster homes all above the East Coast, and he got stationed here. It was really hard for him to get custody of us because men are like the system's sexist in terms of getting custody of kids, right? Females are better kid bearers than men in the eyes of the system. So he ended up having to get married while we're in the foster home, and then that ends up where my step family comes in, and Shannon, amazing, I love her. I know in another video I made it seem negative, but like they turned out to be negative because of us, and it was a really bad situation, but them doing that right there was amazing, and I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for that. And I don't want to make you guys look bad, so that's my thanks right there. I really appreciate you taking us out of the foster home and doing all that work just to get us out of there, which I really respect. But my dad then got married, then it was easier for him to get custody of us. Then we get taken out of the foster home. Now I'm living in Louisiana with my sister. Since then, I remember it was a real struggle for my dad. I don't think he was planning on doing anything. He just wanted to be in the military. That was his thing. And then he gets kicked out, which screws up his life. And I feel really bad for him, and I understand that, and I'm sorry that happened to you because of us. But I really respect that you took us out of the foster home. Thank you so much for that. But he had no backup plan, I guess. He was really good at AC. I remember him getting that good job. He was getting paid really well, but they were treating him horribly. His back was getting messed up and stuff like that. So eventually he left there. It was hard for him to find work. My mom, I don't believe, was working. She didn't finish college. When I say mom, I mean Shannon, my stepmom, but she's basically my mom. She raised me. She was a very good caregiver for me. But throughout that course, the situation just got worse and worse. As we grew older, we grew more segregated from them. I grew more segregated from them because I never felt a connection with anybody. I had already lived with several families. I had already had several siblings. I'd already had several families, and it was just like, I don't know who and what even I should be loving. You know what I mean? What am I supposed to be connected to? Because I feel like that beginning of my life was so important and crucial to getting connected to parents and lovers and parents and stuff like that. And I feel really bad because I wish I would have got connected with Shannon and Matt, but I do love them, right? I just don't know why it doesn't feel, I'm not sure. I don't know. I do love them. That's the key, and I do love them. But like I was saying, I remember being in an apartment home. I remember playing video games a lot because that was my escape from reality. And yeah, things were hard. I mean, I remember eating ramen noodles often, and just growing up on that. And I remember moving to a trailer where I had a friend, Casey. I don't know where Casey's at, but I had a friend that we ended up buying his trailer. He moved to Texas, and we had that trailer. It was very nice compared to what we had been living in. And then eventually rats and mice and roaches, and I guess some of it's our blame as being kids, but the house just got really disgusting, and I'm growing up in this and stuff like that. But the next big landmark was whenever I became a sophomore, and I got word that my brother was in a coma and for drugs, and I realized that he was having a really hard life with just his grandparents. He couldn't be with his mom because his mom abused us whenever we were young, and she's crazy. And his dad was in prison. And I realized that we have to look at this situation in two ways. You could either follow along with the system would tell you you're going to become like a drug abuser or not successful, or you can be successful and just defy all the odds of what people expect from you. And I didn't realize this until afterwards, but in my sophomore year, I got really depressed and really sad. And this was my depressed phase, I guess. I don't know if it's a phase or anything like that. I'm definitely over it. If you ask anybody around me now, they know I'm an extremely positive person. And I really try to be. And I don't know, I kind of melted my brain into that. Every time something negative happens, I'm instantly coming up with positive things like that because of that situation. It's just a great mindset to be in. And I feel very elevated emotionally because of that. But in my sophomore year, I remember trying to kill myself twice. I remember walking into my dad and my mom. They were sitting on the bed, and I was like, I want to kill myself, and I was crying, full tears, tell them this, and my dad looked at me and he said, "You're fucking stupid." And I remember that and didn't follow up on it. I remember turning around, walking to my room, and I remember like a couple days later, I hardcore drink bleach, because whenever I was that age, I hear that would be able to kill you. I hardcore drink bleach, and my tongue went numb, my face went numb, and I remember it just felt really nasty, and I got sick, and my parents never knew about it. And if you're seeing this, I'm sorry about that. Like, I could have died that day, and I get really numb, my face goes numb, I'm starting to burn up in the face, and I lay down in my bed, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna die. I go to sleep thinking I'm not gonna wake up, right? And I wake up the next morning and I'm like, damn, I didn't die, and there's probably a reason this happened. And I was like, I'm tired of this sadness and this bullshit, and it's really up to me if I want to be happy or not. So I take life into my own hands after that. And before that, I had multiple occasions where I was cutting the heck out of my arm. It was stupid. I really wanted it in my life, and I don't know exactly why. I was just thinking of my mom and how I didn't feel loved and I didn't feel connected to anybody. And like, things were happening, like my stepfamily's members were dying, and I would be going to the freaking funeral, and it would be so sad. Everybody's crying, and I don't feel any connection at all. And I feel really bad because of that, because they're my family. I was told, and I just was standing there like, I don't feel connected. I don't feel in a connection with any of them, and I guess it's my fault, and it is my fault. I mean, I should have tried harder to be connected with them, but like for family things, I would just sit in the corner, and like Christmas and stuff like that, I would sit in the corner and just not really talk. If you ask them, they know that I would do that, and it's because I just don't feel connected with anybody. I was always isolated. I was always in my room. I would always play video games, get away from everything. And then whenever I turned 16, this is after my depression phase, after I really tried to kill myself, I was like, I'm gonna work. This is my way out. And I was working before this with my dad with the AC. He tried to start his own company, etc. And but I had made a little bit of money there. I was kind of, I don't know, I'm not going to say as entrepreneurial, but like whenever I was in middle school, I used to sell GIMP. I don't know if you know what that is, but those little things I would sew together and turn into bracelets, I used to make so much money selling that until I got in trouble for selling it on campus. But yeah, I used to sell stuff in middle school. I was trying to make money, really trying hard. Turned 16, got a job like 2 weeks later, because I had talked to the owners, because they had interviews. I remember the place burned down. They had opened a new one. I had got a job there. And been really trying hard ever since then. And it was really rough because my dad, I don't know what was happening. Sorry about this thing. It has a timer. It was just really rough because I would go home from work after school, and I was really in a hustle phase. And I still am, and that's why I am today still. It's only like 2 years later since I was 16, and I thought it'd be really smart to start documenting my life. But I would go to school. I'm taking college classes, and to where I could have free college, because I know education was another way out of poverty and my life. So I'm taking these college classes. I would get off at like freaking 3 o'clock, let alone I would ride my bike to school, which is a couple miles, so I didn't have to wake up as early as I would for a bus. And then I would ride my bike a couple miles from school to my job, which is on the other side of town, right? And whenever I would do that, it was so motivating to me that I was trying this hard, and I realized I was trying this hard to make money and be good at school, and it became a competition to me because I had all these other students in school that were making C's and D's and stuff. And I'm sitting here making B's and A's alongside going to work, working 30, 40 hours, 50 hours in school. Not kidding. I can show you my time cards and stuff like that. I had 2 jobs, and I would hitch rides to Lafayette because my car had broke down. I knew nothing about cars at the time, and it just broke down on me. But eventually I was just hustling, and I've been hustling ever since I turned 16. I've always kept 2 jobs. I had 3 jobs at one point whenever I was just bar backing at the bar that I worked at. But that's basically my background story. Like, ever since then, I've been really hustling, and like, I left, you guys know the part where I left house at 17 to get out of the negative environment so I could keep elevating myself emotionally. And yeah, I've been living in my car to save money. You guys know that. If you don't, I moved into my car to save money. And it's really been a grind ever since. And that's the key. Just stay hustling. And that's why I say it at the end of every video, to keep grinding and keep growing, because that's all I've been doing my whole life. And that's all I'm gonna ever do. So that's all I want to leave you guys with. Thanks for listening if you're still here, and as always, keep grinding and keep growing.